A brick kept soldiers alive in frozen silence, and most people still have no idea it existed. That sounds impossible, but during the Cold War, when survival depended on preparation rather than comfort, armies quietly relied on one of the simplest heating tools ever devised. No flames, no electronics, no moving parts. Just a dense block designed to store heat, release it slowly, and keep a human body functional in brutal cold. This wasn't a gimmick. It was a calculated response to one of the most dangerous enemies of warfare: exposure. And once you understand how it worked, you'll realize why modern survival gear still borrows from its logic. During the Cold War, soldiers didn't just prepare for bullets and bombs. They prepared for weather that could cripple an army before a single shot was fired. From Eastern Europe to the Korean Peninsula, from Arctic patrols to mountain listening posts, cold killed quietly. Frostbite, hypothermia, and exhaustion could render trained troops useless in hours. Heavy coats helped, but they weren't enough during long static deployments. Guard duty, observation posts, overnight marches. You couldn't always move. You couldn't always build a fire, and you definitely couldn't afford to glow on an enemy's thermal scope. The solution had to be silent, reliable, and impossible to fail. That's where the heating brick entered the picture. At first glance, the heating brick looked unimpressive. It was roughly the size of a thick book or a small loaf of bread. Dense, heavy, often ceramic or stone-based, sometimes wrapped in canvas or wool. No wires, no switches. But the magic wasn't in how it looked. It was in how it behaved. These bricks were designed to absorb large amounts of heat and release it slowly over many hours. Soldiers would warm them using a stove, a field kitchen vehicle, exhaust heat, or even a controlled fire when possible. Once heated, the brick became a portable thermal reservoir. You'd slip it into a jacket, place it near the core while sleeping, or tuck it under layers inside a pack during rest breaks. It radiated warmth steadily, without smoke, light, or sound. In Cold War doctrine, that mattered more than comfort. It meant survival without detection. Hot water bottles existed long before the Cold War, and soldiers had used them in earlier conflicts. But they had problems. They cooled too quickly. They could leak. They froze in extreme conditions. The heating brick solved those weaknesses. Ceramic and stone retain heat far longer than water. They don't slosh. They don't puncture easily. They don't expand and burst. Once heated properly, a brick could stay warm for 6 to 8 hours, sometimes longer depending on insulation. Even better, it produced dry heat. Moisture is deadly in cold environments. Wet clothing strips heat away from the body. The brick added warmth without introducing dampness. That detail alone made it invaluable. Here's the interesting part. The heating brick wasn't meant to warm hands or feet first. It was designed for the core. Cold survival is about protecting vital organs. When the core temperature drops, the body shuts down extremities to preserve life. Fingers numb, toes freeze, decision-making collapses. By placing the heated brick near the abdomen, chest, or lower back, soldiers kept blood warm at the center. That warm blood circulated outward, slowing frostbite and maintaining alertness. This wasn't folklore, it was physiology, and Cold War planners understood it well. The Cold War was defined by waiting, listening, watching, long hours of stillness in hostile environments. A fire could betray a position, a generator made noise, even chemical hand warmers, which appeared later, had limited lifespan and produced waste. The heating brick did none of that. Once heated, it required nothing. No oxygen, no fuel, no attention, it simply worked. That made it perfect for observation posts, border patrols, and winter encampments where stealth mattered as much as warmth. The idea wasn't new. Civilian life had used heated stones and bricks for centuries. Bed warmers, foot heaters, oven-warmed tiles wrapped in cloth. Ancient cultures understood thermal mass long before the term even existed. What the Cold War did was standardize it, militarize it, and optimize size, material, and heat retention for field use. In a strange way, this ultra-modern conflict leaned on medieval logic: store heat, release it slowly, respect the physics. That's a recurring theme in survival history. The heating brick wasn't perfect, and armies knew it. Overheating was a danger. A brick heated too much could cause burns if placed directly against skin. That's why they were always wrapped in layers: wool, canvas, spare clothing. Weight was another factor. A brick adds mass to a pack, and soldiers already carried too much. These were issued selectively, often in extreme climates or fixed positions rather than long-range patrols. And of course, once the heat was gone, it was gone. You needed a source to recharge it. Still, when the alternative was freezing in place, those trade-offs were easy to accept. So modern survival gear is full of batteries, gels, and chemical reactions. But when those fail, the heating brick logic honestly remains unbeatable. Thermal mass doesn't break. It doesn't expire. It doesn't depend on manufacturing chemistry. In remote environments, a stone heated safely near a fire can still provide life-saving warmth. Cold War soldiers didn't rely on the brick alone. It worked alongside layered clothing, proper nutrition, dry insulation, and, disciplined movement. But it filled a critical gap: passive heat during inactivity. That's a lesson many modern outdoors enthusiasts relearn the hard way. So why isn't the heating brick famous? Because, it's boring on paper. No explosions, no heroics, no dramatic footage, just quiet effectiveness. Military history often celebrates weapons and vehicles, not the tools that prevented soldiers from dying while standing still. But, survival history tells a different story. Wars are won by logistics, preparation, and keeping people alive long enough to matter. The heating brick did exactly that. The genius of the Cold War heating brick wasn't innovation, it was restraint. Instead of chasing complexity, it refined simplicity. It trusted physics. It respected human biology. It acknowledged that sometimes the smartest solution is the one that already exists, just used correctly. That mindset defines the legacy of survival. And it's why studying these forgotten tools still matters today. If a silent brick could keep soldiers alive in the frozen tension of the Cold War, just imagine what other forgotten solutions history still holds. If you value practical wisdom, real survival knowledge, and the ingenious tools that came before modern tech, stay connected with Legacy of Survival. Like the video if this surprised you. Share it with someone who loves history or the outdoors. And subscribe so you don't miss the next forgotten lesson pulled straight from the past. Because survival has always favored the prepared and, honestly, the curious.